Hey everyone, welcome to the video. And today we have Devarshi with us, and he is the experienced person with building SaaS products, freelancing, and open source work. So we are discussing about how someone can start with the freelancing, how they can find their gig, setting a profile, how you can build a SaaS product, and a lot of things that we are discussing in the session. So Devarshi, start with a little bit introduction about yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Devarshi. I'm currently in grade 12th, and now I'm a full stack developer, a UI UX developer, bit of technical writing and DevOps, and a lot with open source technologies as well. I love community management, entrepreneurship, and freelancing. And in the past few years, I've acquired a lot of skills and implemented many different projects, whether that's open source or proprietary, and even different freelance work with different freelancing clients.
Yeah, that's good. And like you have huge experience in a different domain. Like as you mentioned, like UI UX is a designer, like developer, freelancing, and building a SaaS. So the first thing that I want to ask, like we are working on a SaaS product. So what was your experiencing uh, as early age you're working on SaaS product and you are building? So which technology that you're using and how much it take to build particular product with with the technology that you're using?
Okay, so that's quite a good question. And for different products, like different technologies, that matters project to projects. Like maybe for some project, I might use programming languages JavaScript. Other, I might use something like C++. So that really depends on what product. If that's something on the web interface, I'll go with something like JavaScript. If that's something to, let's say, some automation or LLMs or something, I'll prefer Python, something like that. And if that's something with low-level programming languages, I'll go with C++, since that would be the best. Like every programming language is capable of many different things, but using the optimal programming language for a particular task is really important. So let's say I'm building some XYZ product, and then I could build it using two different programming languages. Now, programming language A will take some amount of time, the other would just take forever. So choosing the some amount of the low amount of time would be better, and something which can be, like the code maintainability, maintainable. The code is quite maintainable as well. Like there shouldn't be a 50-year-old programming language which is outdated in the current scenario, in the current world case.
Okay. And like one more thing to add, like building a SaaS product or any small individual project, like if you're familiar with any tech stack, like just like JavaScript, Python, so you have to more focus with that technology. And once you build something good amount of your projects or some product, then you can shift to other technologies to look for better solutions. Just like as you mentioned, the optimization of the code, speed, performance, and it's required which thing that you're building. If you're building Android, so the technology is completely different. If you're building web application, so technology is completely different. And it's like JavaScript is everywhere right now. It's like building a mobile application, desktop applications, and web applications. So like you're working with mostly JavaScript, or you're working on some other technologies as well, just like Python or so building a product.
I for the most part, I work with JavaScript and TypeScript when it comes to building product, because I focus on building web-based application products. Web-based, and those are mobile applications. That will, like, let's say I use something like React for building website, a web-based product with dashboard and all. I can use something like React Native to build a mobile application, and so on and so on. Like I could build a desktop application using Electron JS. So that way, for the front side, like all the, like the application side or the website side, I would prefer JavaScript or TypeScript. Maybe if there's some particular product what I'm working on which requires a lot of AI stuff, or something related to AI modeling and all of that, and something TensorFlow, PyTorch, or something like that, then I'll definitely go with Python, because that's quite much more optimized. That thing is possible in JavaScript, but Python would be a better programming language. For the most
Okay.
part, yes, 80 to 90% of the time I use JavaScript or TypeScript.
Okay. So like most of the people using JavaScript, but the actual thing is like if you have a particular problem that you're facing or you want to work on. So no matter which technology that you're using, if you're solving that particular problem with actual solutions or actual things, so no matter the technology. But yeah, like JavaScript is mostly dominating the market right now. And the second thing that when you started with all the technologies and all the development phase, so I believe you started with the web development or
Yeah,
just
I didn't have anything generalized. Like I had no specific interest in anything. So to be like clearly towards programming, basically I started with no code programming and all. I don't consider that. But then if you say like proper programming and all, I think yeah, web development would be my first starting point.
okay. And like you're building the SaaS product right now. So what was your experience with that? Like you create a particular design system, then you start with the working, and how much time it takes to build particular like convert idea to the reality. Just like you have a particular problem, a particular idea, and you're building. And definitely, you're not building alone. You have friends or someone you are collaborating to build that particular product. So it's like how much time it takes to build particular product as your experience.
Yeah, so it really depends like on what type of product you're building. Uh, like let's say you're building some open source product, you might want to start building it with a public repository rather than a private one. So since start if the repository is public, I'll already have everything readily available to everyone, you know. And if that's in team, I would try to collaborate with some different Git repo permissions to each and every use Git branches to manage all the all the code changes and everything if that's in a team. And let's say for any open source product, about a month should be fine. Like a series open source product, about a month of time should be fine. Now, this involves for a web application SaaS product, by the way. This involves the front end and the back end part, deploying part. I haven't considered the design, let's say for the front end, I haven't considered Figma or something like that to create the design because that would take another whole 15 days to create. So uh, that would delay up. So that really depends on open source products. I don't think like if you really want to scale your open source product, only then will you need a serious Figma design, or else you could just directly start with it. When it
Yeah,
comes to proprietary softwares, uh, I think a Figma design is quite necessary, and that will take much more longer time because this time you have no credibility or you're not showcasing how you build this product and all because in open source you already have GitHub stars, all the code commits and everything there. In proprietary, you just have your XYZ website and your product on that website. There's no guarantee about privacy and everything unless until you have that privacy policy and all written. So in that, it will definitely take a longer time, and usually proprietary softwares are much more when you have some particular tasks that need to be proprietary. Like usually open source does it all, but let's say I want to develop particular softwares, um, some software which is internally for bank and quite confidential. So in that case, I'll just go with something which is which has a more private code. I don't want to share that to the world. I
yeah,
just want to share the software. I just when it mostly comes to B2B companies and all, softwares are proprietary.
yeah. Like it depends the project that you're working and the complete ecosystem that you're working. Just like if you're building any application publicly or for the community, so you can share it to anyone. Just like you can create like push the repo on the GitHub and you can share it on the social. The people can interested and contribute to that particular repo, and that's how all the improvements and all the recommendations that you can work on. But if you're working for any B2B or just as you mentioned for banks, so it's a private project, so you can't share it with others. And yeah, that's quite interesting. The
Yeah.
thing that I
In
want
that
to,
case, like in that case, like let's say something like open source or proprietary and all of that stuff, time changes product to product. Your product might have less functionality and more efforts needed in marketing. In that case, It would definitely be better to complete the product faster, build MVP, launch it up, and spend more time on marketing it to the world. Some products, on the other hand, usually B2B, they don't require so much of marketing to be done. They more require towards cold email outreaching and all. So in that case, you want to make sure you fine tune your product to the most. Like even your MVP, it must make sure you have a lot of features in it so that whoever you're contacting, because in this case you don't have a large audience, you're not targeting a huge audience.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
product has its own audience. So in this case, that selective 50 people or 100 people audience, you need to make sure at least 60 to 70% should like your product to make it a successful one.
yeah, I agree. And like in this whole scenario, I'm just trying to understand the process of registrations and all the legal policies. I can say, like what was the whole process of, like you build particular platform and you want to go with a publicly, just like domain and all the legal issues, all the stuff. So how it works, like where you have to register your applications, is there any agencies that help with us, and all those stuff. Like give us a not a roadmap, but steps that you have to follow after building a product and you want to get into public. What are the registrations and all the stuff you have to do?
Okay, so for a product, as such, there's no registrations required. Like for domain name and all, you can just go to let's say GoDaddy, or I think Google Domains is now not available anymore. So something like Squarespace, GoDaddy, Namecheap, etc. Get yourself a domain name. They'll usually ask for billing details and some of your contact details and all, and they'll just hand over the domain name to you. And if that's a product you're set to go, you can directly launch it. There's no registration anywhere required unless and until something like for email hosting and all. So particularly for
Okay.
email hosting, let's say on Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud, they usually have the SMTP port or the port used for emails blocked just so that they don't have spam over there. So in that case, you might need to request them to unblock it so that you can get the email like contact@xyzproduct.com, something like that. When it comes to
Yeah.
startup, however, you will have to keep in mind of registration terms and all. For startups, you would need to consider approaching your local, whatever area you're living in, for the rules and regulations. And usually it should take about a month for approval and everything. So in that case, you'll need your location where you're registering the startup, some other documentations like what type of people would you be hiring and what average pay, etc. All of that stuff, and you're good to go with that as well.
Yeah. So I don't think it's much complex as you mean, as you say that I don't think it's much more like complex thing. But most of the people think it's a complex process and they give up. But once you
Yeah, I
just
think for
start something,
products, it's quite easy. Products is you just buy a domain name, you have your code, get it running on the cloud, and you can launch it. But when it comes to startup, it will take about 1 to 2 months of different processes, legal documentation and everything. That matters from product to product, and like every startup, not necessarily every startup is a SaaS based one, but then it will depend from different startup to startup. So yeah.
yeah. The next thing that I want to like you have experience with the freelancing. So the first thing, like how you started with the freelancing, and like when you started with the freelancing, what was your experience before that? Like you built some projects, you worked on some open source, you contributed somewhere. Like how you get that confidence to starting with freelancing?
So I started this about few years ago for freelancing and all, and in fact, I haven't stopped it about last year. So had couple of years of experience in freelancing, but that's it. Uh,
Okay.
so the way I started was I used to learn different programming. Back then, I was learning different programming languages and how web development works, or DevOps technologies works. And also along with that, I thought it would be better to have be able to work on a real world project. Some project, I lacked this thinking skill of product building back then. Now I'm quite building many products and all, some or the other day, whether that's open source or proprietary. But back then, I wanted some project to work on, get some idea, get some hands-on experience before moving on to build on my own. So for that, but while making sure it's not some notes app or something like that. So for that, I just thought freelancing would be the right step. So starting with freelancing, for open source, mostly I used my GitHub for learning and all. In fact, I deleted those repositories, the older ones, basically which are
Mhm.
proprietary, where there's like Learn.js and all of those. So all of those repositories are now deleted. And then after that, open source, I haven't done much like in the later parts. So it was just for the last 1 year where I used open source for freelancing. Previously to that, it was all proprietary or different freelancing platforms.
Okay. And like how you find your first gig as a freelancer, like which platform you use and you reach out to someone or someone reach out to you.
Okay, so I signed up on a platform called as Fiverr twice. That was the
Okay.
first time, just trying to figure out how it works and all. I read up my details, like all the education and experience and skills and everything, profile for all of those stuff. And then on Fiverr, clients approach. In my case, no one really approached for about 5 days, and I was like, maybe that's not how freelancing works, or maybe my account is flagged or something, even though that wasn't the case. So I deleted it and recreated, and again found out that no client is approaching me. Another 2 3 days, which is quite a short duration. Like let's say for your first freelancing gig, I think it would take about at least a month to find it unless and until you're already in contact with other freelancers and everything. So, with that said, I signed up on Upwork. I researched a bit on the network. I found out Upwork might be the right one for me. So I signed up on Upwork, got my profile set up with all the details once again. And Upwork, I can approach the clients as well. So basically, they will have their the requirements written, and I can approach to them. So I approached a couple of them. Upwork has the boost terms as well, like 50 boosts and all you get when you first sign up, credits or something like that. So I use them all. I got my first freelancing after like 3 months of signing up. So once that
Okay.
was done, yeah,
So
once
like
that was done, yeah, that was a long time. I took another 15 days to get the next one, and then following that, then the time span just kept becoming smaller until I started getting daily. And then
yeah,
I
like
thought, okay, now it's time to raise the price. So I
once
raised it a bit. Yeah.
once you started with all the continuous efforts, like you find a first gig after 90 days, like a lot of people give up after a week or after a few days, they are not able to find a particular gig. But at the beginning, like you have no experience and no feedback, it's difficult someone to trust you and give it a project to you. So you have to show your project's previous experience to them to convince who you can able to build that. But yeah, at getting a first client or first gig, it takes time. And after that, once you build some projects and you have some ranking and good feedback from the client, like people will reach out to you to build their projects. So that's where you can reach out, like raise your price as a per hour or per project. So that's how you can grow as a freelancer, I believe.
Yeah. So I used to raise that every time I had a high spike of the number of clients I received, and then I used to filter out, okay, I think this is the right project what you need, and obviously there's different
So
terms, discussion done of the product and everything. And once that's done, basically in the side by side, in the meantime, I used to work on hackathons, like I won few hackathons and all. So that was something that I could showcase, that okay, I built this product and I won this hackathon. Um, then I completed few certifications in the background and other experience or anything related to that, some more achievements, all of those I shared up to, like build a credibility in the freelancing market at the start. So those were like the first 1 or 2 years. And back then, okay, the number of clients what I used to get was really low. So like let's say one approaches me, the second would approach me after like 2 weeks or 1 week. But in the later part, once that time, like okay, now I have that credibility, I have past clients, I have ratings on my profile. I also have previous work experience, whether that's as intern or as a full time. I have community experience, I have certifications, I have open source products, everything showcased on GitHub, all of my contribution to other products. Then I have that credibility. So the number of offers just kept increasing, and I also got open source opportunities as well for
Okay.
freelancing, and that's why I get them.
And like, what was your experience with your first client and how much you make from your first client?
Yeah, that was just about 1,000 INR
Okay.
for about like I think a week of work, which was too low. And now I would charge really high. So back then, that was my first, and I had no idea about pricing, and I had no one to contact as well. That okay, I think this should be the optimum one. I mean, you can obviously see the public directory of all the freelancers, but then they have that rate just because of the experience. Like now, even I'm charging high, and many people can't afford to pay that much. In
Yeah,
that
like
case, I mean, obviously we can't go with the deal
that interesting
and
and like
continue. Yeah.
that's quite interesting. Like as you mentioned, the first client that you charge 4,000 and you work for a week. So that's definitely it's a low price. But at the beginning, you have no idea about the charges and all those stuff. But still, you have started at the early age and you did a very good work with that. So that's really great. And as you mentioned that hackathons, like a lot of people don't participate into that, but I believe hackathons is something that will give you the real world feedback as well, or a lot of real experience that you build a particular product with your idea, with your own thing, and you just publish online. So will community or the particular platform people will reach out to you or give some feedback that you can improve somewhere or you can work on that. So that's quite interesting, I believe.
Yep. I do regret my first freelancing gig as well because that's just too low for the efforts I took back then. But I think that's just the start, and that's how, in fact, every free like let's say if you add a really high amount of what you would charge after about an year of freelancing, as the amount grows, as your experience grows, as your rating grows, the number of clients are satisfied. If you add that amount at the start, most likely no one is going to approach you because you have no
Yeah.
credibility. So to build that credibility, unless until you have some past about 10 to 15 years of experience in the IT market.
Yeah, like it takes times as well, like to build credibility and you have to you have to experience with previous clients. So people can trust you. Like he did some 2 or 3 projects, like we can trust on you and then they can pay you more or they give the priority in terms of selecting some people. So that's how you grow. So yeah, and about the platform, it's a continuously debate. Like most of the people share some particular platform or give more value to particular platform because they find useful, but other people, but this is not the same story for everyone. Everyone have their own uh, journey or the story to get the first key and the journey of the particular platform. So as you mentioned, you start with Upwork to get your first client.
Yeah, I did. Um,
Yeah, and like then you shifted to freelancer the platform. So like
yeah, I mean, yeah, good.
which one you suggest to the people who want to start with freelancing? Just like what are your
I
recommendation for
think
those?
in my case, Upwork worked, so I would just suggest that. Maybe after that, Fiverr. There's other platforms like freelancer.com and FlexJob, Simply Hired, etc. For designing and all, I think Dribble is the best, or
Okay.
even Behance, because that's where all the design assets are found. I haven't given that myself a trial. In fact, I would love to in the future. Right now, I worked with designing clients as well in the past, but those were via Upwork. For the best design experience and all, I think Dribble or Behance would be the best. And for other freelancing or anything else, I think these should work. Even the Replit is now these days having they call it. I'm not sure what they call it, but even they provide pay for completing particular task or building some product.
Yeah, like different platforms have different stories, but one thing into common is like you are getting the same features, so you don't need to worry about that. But every platform have their different policies. Just like as you mentioned, some platform says you have to be 18-year-old to start with the freelancing. Some allow you to 16 or 13, and like different. So work according to that, and which one would be suitable, you can start with it. And
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Yeah.
and what about the cold emailing and reaching out to like LinkedIn? You have tried with these two different things to getting
Yeah,
clients.
that happens when you. I haven't done that for freelancing particularly because for freelancing, uh, few of them reached out to me for particular whatever task they had, etc. And we had that discussed via, let's say, LinkedIn DMs or via emails. Email conversations, I don't think they last long, and that didn't work well in my case. But LinkedIn was helpful. And once I have those clients and I've completed with them, so they'll send maybe some portion, 5% or 10% of the total amount, like initial deposit to me, so
Okay,
that obviously I trust them because in the case of Upwork and Fiverr, they are the middleman and they guarantee your payment. Obviously, they do cut their own 15 to 20% fee, but even other than that.
yeah,
So,
and
and for cold emailing and like LinkedIn DMs and all, like if I was to send anyone for freelancing, no, I haven't done that because luckily I don't know what term to use, but I had enough offers and all, number of clients to work with. And slowly and gradually, I was able to increase it up to, or rather, higher than the expectations I had for freelancing. Later on, I did stop freelancing due to other products and other work experiences, other work I had. And another cold emailing and LinkedIn DMing concept is when you like work on a startup and you want to reach out to the customers and all. That I've done for a while. Um, and in fact, maybe in my upcoming startup or the product what I'm building on, I won't reveal much right now, but that's
yeah,
where something this will.
and like everyone has a different story, I believe. In my terms, LinkedIn works better for me because not for me, but a lot of people because you reach out to someone through LinkedIn, so someone can view your profile. They can go to the experience sections or thing that you shared on your profile, so people can get idea like they have to reply you or not. So they can, if you have create a better LinkedIn profile with all the experience certification, so people will definitely reply to you. At least they will respond with a no. But in terms of cold emailing, I think a lot of people don't get replies with that because sending a cold email, no one will able to get your experiences or all the stuff. And if you write, if you throw the lot of content in cold emailing, so people they like decline to just like uh, people don't have time to read that all the like the large amount of text that you send on the email. So you have to be very specific. So I believe LinkedIn works better.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, the last thing that we have open source and tech stack. So open source, like you building a byte maker so community around that. So what was your experience with it? Like how you started with a community and like you're managing your Discord server your own or you have some people to manage that?
Yeah, I do. I manage my own. There's few more people along with me.
Okay.
So I used to work on this community last year. It's still there, but not quite inactive now. Just because I think I had an experience, a well experience of how community management works and all. And I think building your own community is important, but not like a community in the sense of Discord server or managing your own events and all. I think that you should do it in some existing community which is already well grown. Because what is happening is there's just some or the other new community popping up every day. Uh,
Yeah,
and I
I agree.
think the well recognized communities are the way to go. So my experiences for conducting events or anything like that, or if you want to showcase something in the community, do it in an existing large scale community unless and until you really have a purpose of building your own. Let's say someone has their own YouTube channel, or in your case, you have a YouTube channel, you would want to build a Discord server to connect with all of them, or a Telegram group or something to connect with them all. So that will be fine. But other than that, just college groups and all, I think those can be already done in the large scale communities rather than building on
Yeah.
their own.
And I agree with the point that every second people I see they have Discord server, then they are building the community. But yeah, like large the community which are already building, they are sharing the same thing, you are sharing the same thing. So it's not make sense to do the repetition work of work. So like be a part of large community, you will get better network, better people to work with as compared to building some small community with. Yeah, like completely agree with it. And like what about the like byte makers? What it is? Tell us about the purpose that you build, and it's quite inactive right now. But what is the purpose that you're building, and how you started with the open source and setting up all the repositories and all the stuff?
Okay, so for Byte Makers communities, I started with about 2 to 3 people, 2 to 3 of my friends, and my main focus was mostly to build a developer community, conduct few events on different topics, encourage people in learning few things, provide them with a roadmap, uh, mentor them for particular topics and everything. That was my initial plan. I did even conduct a hackathon, which was successful. But following that, managing a community by itself takes a lot of efforts and a lot of time. And
Yeah,
I think this should be done in your free time, like your volunteering time, not in your main time. So for my rest of my work, or where I work right now, and all of the um, there I had some issues. I mean, I wasn't able to allocate much time. So bad makers communities or other community stuff.
uh, like anything you want to add? This is the end of conversation. Anything you want to give? Any kind of tips to people that you are building the SaaS products, or people want to start with the freelancing? Anything they want to add, just like work on your skills, or something that you want to share from your journey?
I think for freelancing, just don't give up. You'll definitely find a gig for yourself. Make sure you have that credibility to actually work on a freelancing project. Like, just don't go and apply without having those skills and tech stack. Because I've seen many people who just open up a freelancing profile. And in fact, I'm also one of them who did that when I originally created on Fiverr. I didn't have those required skills, and I still did it. And that won't lead you to any freelancing unless until you actually know how to work on it. And for products, I think yeah, uh, just keep working. I think about 2 to 3 different open source projects, well-made open source project documented would be helpful. And if you're passionate about building products and all, you might consider building your own startup. And yeah, it was an amazing session.
Yeah, so, like great. And like really appreciate the time that you shared, and like you are busy with the work and you're not feeling well, but still you're connected with the session and sharing your time. So that's really appreciate the time that you shared with us.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
thank Devarshi.